The skies of war burned red with flak and flame. Yet from the dark an enemy with no uniform older stranger appeared. In 1943, Polish and RAF pilots spoke in whispers, reporting a colossal silent thing, a presence too vast for words. Radar screens stuttered with impossible phantoms, blips too huge, moving too fast, collapsing into nothing in seconds. From their cockpits, men swore they saw a living eclipse, wings so immense they blotted out the full pale moon. In its wake, engines faltered, radios choked with static. Entire planes vanished, gone without fire, without smoke. Command called it turbulence, cold ink on paper, but the pilots called it what it truly was, the beginning of a hunt. In margins of logbooks beneath neat times and altitudes, a single trembling word appeared scrawled, unknown. Villagers watching from fields had another name whispered in fear, the WWII, the terrible angel of war. Histories would erase reports redacted with thick ink, yet silence kept the truth alive, heavy in every survivor's eyes. And so the story begins not of victory or glory, but of wings vast and black, written in secret above Poland's skies. Winter 1943, over the frozen Vistula winds bit deep, and in the night sky something vast and watchful circled. German bombers droned low engines, heavy with death, crossing unseen, striking villages, leaving fire in their wake. From Britain they returned Poland's RAF squadrons, exiles, with steel in their hearts, sworn to guard their homeland. Their machines were legends. Spitfires, hurricanes, scarred from Britain's skies, weary yet defiant in frozen air. These young men carried old ghosts in their eyes, faces hardened by exile, spines forged into iron by loss. In briefing rooms, chalk dust hung thick, maps, codes, altitudes etched in white lines, tactics born of desperation. Every number drawn was both a calculation and a prayer, each heading a thread pulled between survival and death. Boots crunched across the frozen tarmac, each step silent, each man carrying his vow into the indifferent sky. Ludmar Nova, just 23, touched a photo of family lost to war. His reason to fight, his reason to fly. Fingers brushed the cold fuselage, a ritual of promise between man and machine, between grief and defiance. Beside him, Sergeant James Collins lit a cigarette, trust unspoken. A brotherhood written only in scars and silence. Language mattered little. Combat was their grammar, survival, their translation, loyalty, the only currency they knew. Strapped into cockpits, leather, oil, and frost filled their senses. The panel lights, cold, steady, merciless in glow. The ritual began. Checklists, murmured engines, roaring radios, crackling discipline imposed order on infinite dark. One by one they lifted wheels, leaving earth wings cutting fog, rising from broken soil into the boundless haunted sky. On the ground, Maria Zielinska opened her logbook. Each name, each call sign, a fragile heartbeat she prayed to keep. To others her records were cold data. But for her, each line was a thread binding men to earth, not to silence. Upstairs, radios crackled alive, fragile wires, linking mortal voices to the vast, indifferent, predatory night sky. Routine chatter, read, one visual clear, the rhythm of survival. Flimsy words carved against the infinite void. Eyes strained into mist, searching for crosses on wings. Every shadow a threat, every flicker a possible death. A flash on the horizon, tracer fire stitched the dark. The hunt was over. The deadly dance of machines began. The radio spat curses, commands, cries. Then only silent static, swallowing voices as men vanished mid-sentence. After chaos, quiet returned, an emptiness worse than battle sky, vast, with absent silence, heavier than loss. They turned home through ghosts of fire, adrift in exhaustion. Adrenaline drained every cloud haunted by death. Chalk tallies on fuselages marked victories, yet each line doubled as a tombstone for those who never returned. Exhaustion pressed heavier than frost, but heavier still was the empty chair at mess, absence sharper than grief. A tin mug past a cigarette shared tiny rebellions of warmth. Fragile sparks in a world built of steel and duty. Marek gazed at his reflection in dark glass, not a hero, only a boy trembling beneath the mask of iron routine. Discipline gave them rhythm, but in silence it cracked each quiet hour, a weight pressing memories into bone. Maria closed her book names, etched with care. Some returning, others left, forever circling in endless night. Fatigue was a thief stealing clarity, but worse were memories, replayed battles, unending wounds, invisible. They were young, brave, disciplined, but human, still fragile hearts beating against impossible, inhuman odds. Their war stood on three pillars: brotherhood, sacred duty, iron hope, fragile each wavering with every mission. December's snow was not alone. It came with static hiss radar, phantoms haunting wires, impossible immense. Apparitions bloomed across scopes, vast, untraceable. Gone in a blink, ghosts of something larger than sky itself. Command stamped reports atmospheric disturbance, but unease grew red ink, circling same cold sectors each night. Whispers began shapes against the moon, too big, too fast, too silent, rumors, too sharp to dismiss. Novak's log read clinical unknown craft. Visual contact, non-hostile, impossible. His hand trembled unseen. Collins described wings eclipsing constellations. Structures immense, older than stars, his voice low, terrified. Maria felt it in her chest first, a resonance deeper than sound, a pulse. A vast unseen heart beating in the sky. The sound was not mechanical, it was organic, primal. A heartbeat, vast and slow, echoing through the night sky. In villages, dogs howled at nothing, livestock stampeded, eyes wide, all fixed on heavens they could not understand. Patrol stories were fragments, puzzle pieces. Whispers of wings, cold winds, shadows too immense to be clouds. One pilot swore his cockpit froze in an instant, ice on glass breath, vanishing after passing through its wake. The CO signed reports with a heavy pen. Each unverified a denial, each stroke a fragile shield against truth. His war was steel firemen and machines. But this was different. This was myth clawing into modern command. A red-circled map revealed patterns he denied aloud, phantoms returning nightly, mocking reason, mocking order. Discipline was their bedrock, yet against this presence, it felt brittle thin ice over a black and endless void. They needed a name, something to contain fear, to bind chaos with words, to make shadow less unbearable. It must be German, one said, a colossal glider, a terror weapon, a lie, dressed in logic, rejected by silence. An older mechanic muttered of the WWII, a winged demon from legend, his words met with uneasy laughter. Soon the squadron gave it a title, whispered at first, then spoken aloud, the Nightwing, both joke and curse. Laughter that followed was sharp, brittle mockery, masking terror, a hollow defense cracking under strain. In the mess hall, new rituals formed, silent stares into returning pilots' eyes, searching for truth or madness. Each man's fear was an island, but together they formed an archipelago of dread, unspoken yet undeniable. To confess what you saw was dangerous, greater than death itself. The fear of being broken, called insane. So silence became their disciplined denial. Their shield stronger than any official order handed down. Flight logs remained clean, precise, clinical, a facade of normalcy built over cracks wide enough to swallow them. But private journals betrayed them. Ink, trembling margins scarred with words they dared not say aloud. Between altitudes and weather notes, one annotation returned, nightly stark, simple capital letters, T. Unease hardened into certainty. They were watched, measured, hunted by something intelligent, vast, patient. This enemy needed no guns, no bullets. Its existence alone was an assault on sanity, a strike at reality. How do you fight wings larger than cities? A living mountain drifting across stars older than your world. And yet they flew because soldiers fly toward enemies. They understood away from terrors they could not name. But always their eyes drifted upward, seeking a shadow that had no right to exist, yet had claimed their skies. Each mission became a pilgrimage into myth. A flight not just against bombers, but into the unknown, terrifying sky. For these men, war was no longer steel versus steel. It was man against something vast, silent, inhuman. January 14th, 1944, marked in red, the night Operation Vistula Shield would face more than Luftwaffe bombers. Squadron 303 engines roared, propellers slicing mist. They rose into a sky colder than the frozen ground below. A pale moon hung indifferent above Poland, casting silver light over men bound for destiny they could not imagine. At 3,000 meters, calm lingered engines, steady a lullaby of routine masking dread, deeper than clouds. Then came the shadow. Impossible immense, not cloud, not plane moving against stars, as if swallowing heaven. Novak's controls fought in turbulence, violent, sudden, yet no storm existed, only a calm sky betrayed. Instruments stayed blank, compasses true, yet his plane shook a phantom hand, pressing on wings, crushing air. Collins's voice crackled in fear. A mass of darkness moving alive. God help us. It's not built by men. A Spitfire lurched sideways metal, shrieking not hit but torn as though invisible claws raked across its skin. The pilot survived landing, battered his wings scarred with curved rents no bullet or flak could ever explain. Mechanics searched for familiar signs of war bullet holes, shrapnel tears, but found only impossible wounds. The mess hall drowned in silence, men staring into mugs, fear now a weight heavier than any engine's roar. The official report was fiction severe turbulence words, neat ink, calm, a denial carved into paper. But the pilots knew their bones knew they had brushed something vast, ancient, unexplainable, in the dark. After that night, every takeoff was heavier dread, strapped into cockpits beside them like a silent passenger. Sleep fractured, haunted by recurring visions, wings eclipsing stars, crimson eyes watching unblinking, eternal. Brave men feigned sickness, trembling hands avoiding flight, fear too great even for soldiers hardened by fire. The CO barked harsher orders, iron voice hiding cracks, yet his gaze betrayed exhaustion, haunted by belief. In villages, whispers spread louder. Moonlit shadows stretching wings, spanning churches, cold, seeping into earth. Maria's logbook filled with oddities. Animals, stampeding radios, shrieking static, her diary whispered of wings. One chilling line she wrote alone. Sound of wings, but no plane ink trembling across the frozen page. On patrol, a pilot's cry tore through static. "It's right here then!" Silence cut sharp, extinguished without echo. His plane returned untouched, but the man inside, broken eyes, hollow lips moving in endless wordless prayer. Rumors hardened into certainty. The winged giant was no joke now, but a grim password whispered in low voices. Unexplained collisions grew frequent formations, staggered, shoved by unseen force, as if sky itself turned hostile. Navigation died when it neared compasses, spun madly, radios hissed, instruments failed, leaving men blind, afraid. One gunner swore he saw glowing embers, eyes, vast intelligent crimson orbs watching patient predatory. Another described steel-feathered wings, each quill flashing like a blade, in cold, merciless moonlight. A pilot gasped as his chest tightened. Lungs crushed, air stolen as though sky itself conspired to suffocate him. Discipline frayed checklists, forgotten hands slick with sweat. Soldiers hesitated before pushing throttles forward. Order unraveled. The once clockwork squadron broke down, a fragile machine cracking beneath relentless dread. Command demanded silence. Reports buried truth, smothered under black ink, a war fought against memory itself. Private notebooks held the real record, scribbled words trembling, a single defiant entry unknown. Fear ceased to be emotion, it became their air, their skin, the invisible weight pressing on every waking hour. They still flew because soldiers fly, but each mission now a prayer, each return a fragile, undeserved miracle. February brought the night etched in memory forever. The mission simple yet sky charged with hostile silence. Bomber escort routine on the map, but dread whispered louder than engines, heavier than loaded guns. Under cold moonlight, they climbed bombers' steady last sound of sanity before worlds split open above them. Static erupted, not mere jamming, but claws of noise raking at minds' radios screamed, then fell into void. A broken voice bled through, so vast. Dear God, it's not before silence devoured worlds and the man. Then they saw it. No craft, no shadow, but a living tear in night itself, a void breathing, pulsing immense. Nowak veteran fearless felt training collapse. No manual, no tactic. Only primal fear gripping frozen hands. Engines sputtered, air denied, as if atmosphere itself bent to creatures' will, starving machines of breath. He saw them eyes like twin bonfires. Crimson cold intelligence, ancient and merciless, staring through him. In an instant, Discipline shattered order, gone replaced by raw instinct. Primal urge, flee, survive, escape. The void swept and a Wellington vanished. No explosion, no fire, just gone, erased from existence in a breath. The sky groaned. Spitfires tossed like toys, metal frames wailing, as if air itself turned weapon against them. One pilot fired wildly. Tracers vanished into dark, swallowed whole. No spark, no impact. Hope itself devoured. Collins's scream tore through static raw, terrified. It's alive. Not machine echoing into every cockpit. A wing of darkness brushed a Spitfire. The plane bloomed silent fire explosion, carving feathers into sight. For one brief moment, light revealed truth feathers of black steel, each shard gleaming like forged blades. Panic spread like contagion. Formation shattered men scattered instinct, replacing drilled order in wild chaos. Instruments failed, compasses spun, the ski transformed from map to trap, every direction hostile, unknowable. A desperate cry sliced short radio, left hissing void, each silence worse than bullet, colder than death. One by one, comrades winked out lights, gone voices, gone an extinguishing of brothers into endless night. Collins gasped, vision narrowing cockpit, thick air-crushed lungs begging, as if sky itself drank his breath. Darkness closed in his last thought, not war nor victory, but awe, terror, impossibility of predator above. On the ground, Maria saw night ignite an aurora of green and violet bleeding across frozen Polish sky. Earth trembled under her boots, vibration deep, resonant, older than thunder, heavier than artillery's roar. Survivors stumbled home, eyes vacant youth, stripped hollow shells carrying weight of something never human. They spoke of harvest, not battlemen culled from sky, as if hunted livestock beneath sovereign predator. A pilot whispered of a face storm, and starlight indifferent, vast, incomprehensible etched into his mind. Another's fuselage bore gaseous metal, ripped open cockpit, laid bare by talons no machine could possess. One sat trembling in blanket mute, staring forever, his gaze locked on horror words could never reach. CO listened to silence in tower map lines, meaningless now, discipline collapsing before the unexplainable. Reports redacted ink, blacker than night testimonies erased, but the truth lingered, ghost haunting the airfield. In mess hall, silence replaced laughter. Each empty seat shouting louder than gunfire, heavier than graves. The Luftwaffe, absent that night enemy, replaced by monster, older, darker, claiming sky as rightful throne. This was no weapon. It was sovereign, an ancient god of destruction feeding in silence above Poland. Fear hardened into permanence, no longer fleeting certainty of smallness before vast predatory cosmos. After that night, myth was dead, winged giant, real absolute etched at the minds of all who survived. Silence became their bond. Not words, but absence, trauma, sealing lips tighter than any officer's command. They flew again, yes, but as children of fear, every shadow above horizon, a reminder of crimson eyes. The war for Poland raged below. Yet for pilots, true conflict was overhead with predator unseen, unbound. Dawn revealed an airfield of ghosts, dispersal bays, empty, like graves yawning wide for the unreturned. Ground crews searched for bullet scars, found none, only chilling absence. Silence heavier than twisted steel. One mechanic unearthed a feather metallic black. Impossible, he buried it quick, lips sealed in dread. Reports claimed mechanical failure ink scars erasing truth. But survivors carried fractures no pen could hide. Novak returned broken arm, yet deeper wound showed in his eyes, a soul cracked by what sky unveiled. In London, Collins tried to confess, spoke of winged god, met with laughter, sharp disbelief, cutting deeper. So he chose silence, his private fortress haunted memory, truer than world, eager to dismiss his truth. Maria's official logs, sparse, yet her diary whispered real name, Annio Voyni, Angel of War, written in fear. The name spread in whispers, not prayer, but warning, a grim password among those who had seen. Once sanctuary sky was now prison, every ascent burdened by dread heavier than any bomb load. Pilots hesitated, hands trembling on throttle, courage, corroded discipline, no longer shield against unseen foe. They drank deep to drown images or begged transfers, but no escape from crimson eyes above. Command barked orders for discipline words, hollow, powerless, against terror etched into bone. CO stared at redacted logs, black ink, a pact of silence burden he bore heavier than metals. Barracks grew grave quiet. Laughter extinguished only heavy watchfulness, silence pressing like winter frost. Every howl of wind, flicker of shadow sounded like wings, vast and unseen, circling ever closer. Empty bunks, untouched, silent memorials to men whose families would never glimpse the true end. Letters home carried careful lies, tales of heroism concealing reality, darker than ink could confess. No medals honored their ordeal, their courage erased battle never fought in history's pages. Survival, their only prize, silence, their only reward, ghosts of war carrying unbearable truth alone. Against Germany they fought, yes, but true war was sky itself, hostile, sovereign, merciless in its reign. They became lonely keepers of impossible secret, bonded by trauma words could never truly describe. They had seen crimson eyes of abyss and abyss, left mark within scar deeper than steel or fire. Survival meant sentence, not victory, living ghosts of a battle no world would acknowledge nor believe. Their youth, certainty, belief in order, all left behind in dark skies, haunted by wings unseen. Changed forever, they carried superstition as truth etched in bone, whispered in every silent breath. Wings bore markings of Poland, yet their souls belonged to shadow that had spared them. They would fly, they would fight, but never again glance upward, without recalling crimson eyes.
Look at that!
Their silence endured to the grave, forgotten soldiers of impossible secret war in the sky. Decades later, fragments leaked files, declassified words sterile, unidentified aerial phenomena. Radar logs showed phantoms, vast, fast flight paths, defying physics, mocking all rational measure. Patterns undeniable from Poland to Caucasus' silent reign, recorded in cold, unforgiving data. Soviet files, too, spoke of Krylati Velikan, winged colossus that hushed entire night skies. Testimonies buried pages, black ink thicker than truth, yet whispers bled through cracks of time. Survivors' journals told it straight, men knew official history lied, memory was the last archive. Colin's older, trembling voice confessed, not weapon, not arm. It was something else entirely. Maria's notebook survived her life-hidden relic testament, inked in solitude, feared by all. Her final entry, chilling, simple, nie, pach w górę. Do not look up. Warning across decades. Folklore of Missouri shifted old tales, gained crimson eyes, wings, eclipsing moon whispered anew. Academics scoffed, safe at desks, mass hysteria they claimed, yet data cut their theories down. Torn metal, silent radios, spinning compasses, hard facts no ghost story could conveniently explain. Pilots' language remained precise, technical, yet behind words hid terror science could not capture. Survivors bore memories, unbroken, quiet brotherhood of the impossible, bound by silence eternal. To speak risked madness, mockery. To forget, betrayed comrades lost, so they carried both burdens. War ended on paper, dates fixed, but shadow fell eternal, never erased from haunted skies. Even in peace radar, blinked anomalies reappeared. Echoes of 1944, still prowling dark horizons. Equipment error set officials a hollow refrain, but veterans knew the signature too well. They fought two wars, one of nations, one of myth. The first could end, the second never. Peace treaties bound men, but sky remained sovereign to something vast, silent, ancient, unbowed. True legacy of war lay not in rebuilt cities, but in silence, truth buried beneath layers of ink and fear. In dark margins between reports, memory breathed unspoken alive, defiant against ordered archives. History was written by victors, but edited by those who feared what could never be explained. World remembered men, machines, ideologies, yet forgot the shadow older than nations or war. Few old men scattered carried secret war, haunted by crimson eyes that watched from endless night. Over Poland's sky, vast, silent, yet for them it was never empty, never free of watching wings. Story ends not in triumph nor defeat, but with a question echoing through decades, what truly hunts above? In quiet museums, medals shine cold, but ghosts of pilots linger where their names were erased. Each archive sealed, each file redacted, yet whispers persist, carried on winds of forgotten battlefields. Children hear myths of angels, and war, never knowing truth, sleeps beneath old airstrips and buried logs. Scholars chase logic, yet night denies them. There are things beyond theory, beyond steel or faith. Those Those who saw still wake in dark hours, ears straining for that beat wings, vast, heart ancient. They dream not of enemies in uniform, but of sky alive, watching, waiting, hungering still. Silence became their monument truth, carved not in stone, but in breath, held beneath haunted stars. They stood as sentinels of a secret cosmos, witnesses to war waged by beings unseen, unbound. For every grave marked by rank and flag, another lay empty, claimed by Shadow's sovereign hand. The winged giant left no ruins, only memory, a weaponless god that rewrote courage into fear. Across time, its echo endures every radar glitch, every shiver of sky, a reminder unforgotten. The pilots became myth themselves, names fading, yet their terror immortal in folklore's breath. Maria's warning lingers still. Do not look up, a plea against curiosity that calls the abyss. Collins died whispering sky's true face eyes, distant, haunted, reflecting stars he no longer trusted. Novak's final flight ended in calm weather, clear skies. Yet ground crews heard faint, heavy wings. Somewhere above, unseen, eternal, it circles, still ancient watcher of mankind's fragile wars. And though wars end and empires fade, the angel of war remains sovereign of silence and dread. So remember not only battles below, but the one above, endless, unanswered, forever unknown.